Podcast, episode 110 of your weekly roundup of all the gaming and Stadia news for your listening and viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games or up there in the digital cloud on your podcast service of choice. You're joining myself, Chris, alongside the not so spooky anymore man of many pixels, Mr. Richie.
I've never been that spooky, to be fair.
I don't know, I've seen you in some states. Can get quite scary.
Yeah, you've seen me in some states.
Some states.
Fair
indeed. Of course, happy Halloween to everybody, especially those stateside who go crazy for Halloween. We know you love it. And even though it's past, we've got loads of not so spooky news for you, but we've got lots of Stadia stories. We've got a great show lined up, breaking down all of your November Pro games. Lots of November Pro game news. Lots of new game... In fact, Richie, lots of new game news full stop.
Yeah, I think it's a good week, this one.
It's a good week.
It's a great week. Yeah.
We also have some updates for a lot of Ubisoft titles. They had their earnings call this week, which, as per usual, brought out a lot of juicy news regarding games as service titles and some ongoing Ubi titles for Plus Connect and all the other stuff they do over there. Alongside that, we've got some feature updates from the Stadia team. They put out a blog post. They're also doing some updates to their weekly news posts, which may or may not impact this show. It probably will, but it won't actually impact the show. I don't know why I said it with such a sinister tone. Nothing's changing here. It might just mean we need to dig a little bit deeper, Richie, to get the news. But we're all too familiar with that, of course. And some more news and exciting updates. So fantastic show. But before we do dive into that, Richie, a few bits of housekeeping to start off with. If all of you viewers and listeners out there would do us the honour of clicking like down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and click that bell because it keeps you in the loop with all of the Stadia goodness we bring you, like our Let's Plays, like our live streams, like our first looks, and this very show, the Sounds of Stadia Podcast, and also our side quest episode as well, where we go off the beaten path and go a little bit deeper on one specific subject relating to Stadia and or cloud gaming. But before we start, Richie, look at my pumpkins. I need to mention
very, very nice.
Of course, the top pumpkin is our very own logo. You can't really see it in that much detail from here. I was saying to you pre-show, doing the Helix Cloud Games logo carved into a pumpkin, bit problematic because you can't carve a circle into a pumpkin because it falls out. So you have to do that whole, shave it down until the light can come through.
You could almost do, a circle but leave a few little points, but then it just wouldn't look great.
It wouldn't look great, exactly. But as proof... to show you that it does actually, you can actually see behind it. It does work.
Yeah, just be careful with your phone. Yeah, that is lit, isn't it, as well?
It smells of pumpkin now. Of course, pumpkin, spiced pumpkin latte, pumpkin pie. That's big for Halloween. Personally, don't like any of it. Don't like the flavour of pumpkin. I'm more of a...
I don't mind a pumpkin spice latte, but there again, I gave up coffee last year, so I haven't...
Well, that brings me on to another point before we get into all the Stadia news. Can you guess what the second pumpkin is, Richie, on the bottom?
No.
Wonderful. Well, I'll leave it for our viewers out there. I would just tell everyone, but if you're a viewer who's watching on YouTube, let me know what you think it is. That one was made by my lovely wife, not me. I won't take credit for the amazing artistry.
Yeah, I kind of guessed that. You never actually mentioned that, but I kind of looked and went... That's made by his wife. Wow. It looks a bit better than his.
Wow. I'm the person who did art and design in college. The wife who didn't, yeah, of course. But yeah, it is the far better one, and mine isn't scary or spooky at all. I just thought, I'll carve our logo into a pumpkin like the sad person I am. But you did mention there...
This can be a prop.
You did mention there, Halloween, of course. We're recording this on the Saturday before Halloween, on the Sunday. You said you've not drank coffee or caffeine since... Was it the turn of the year?
It was... I think it might have been... mid to late November last year. I got pinged by the COVID app and I isolated for a week. And I had nothing in the house, but I was planning on cutting back anyway. I was just planning to wait for my Christmas break.
Right. Okay.
So it is come up to I have had some caffeine, but in the odd kind of Coke here or there,
not on a regular basis.
So it's my whole thing is. I'm staying away from it, but I'm not going to be incredibly anal about it. So at home, I've got some caffeine-free tea. I've got some caffeine-free tea at work, so I can still have a cuppa. Okay. If I buy a bottle of Coke for home, I always go for the decaf stuff.
Okay.
But if I'm out and about and I walk in, if I go for a sandwich or something, and I'll pick up a bottle of Coke. So you're not too hard and fast with the rules. That's good because I
I've my plan from end of Halloween yesterday. If you're listening to this on the Monday, I'm just going to go all batshit crazy with sugar and sweets and candy and everything like that. That's the plan. It's Halloween. I want to do that. It's my last. I've been off for a week. It's been a shit week. So yes, I'm going to just have sugar. So this can. You often see me drinking a can of energy drink on the show. I know it's bad for you, and I need to cut it out. So I need the audience, and I need you, Richie, to keep me straight. If you ever see me drinking on the show, 1st of November onwards, my intention is to cut it all out.
Yeah.
Like
Chris, cut it out because this episode goes live on the 1st of November.
Cut it out in post pre-production kind of thing. But like most people. Getting a bit older, need to start thinking a bit more about healthier and yes.
Well, for me, it was last towards the end of last year. What I was realising I was doing is I was getting up on the Sunday morning while I was having my breakfast. I was having like a can of Monster, and then I was having another one during the show. So I was having like 2 cans of energy drink before like midday usually.
Right. Okay. So I never have more than one a day, and I also don't drink coffee. So I've always told myself. You're okay to have the one, but then now I'm finding myself it's becoming a bit of a weird cycle where it's like it has to be a daily routine to have a can of it, and that shouldn't be the case. So
yeah, I was drinking a lot of coffee like all day at work as well, and I was getting to the point where one of the reasons why I wanted to cut out was like I felt like I was at a point where in order to do a show I needed to have a kind of energy drink.
Yeah, it's like
that's not good. I should be able to do this without being high off my tits.
Yeah, exactly. Because we've got video games, Richie. Welcome to your regularly scheduled weekly meeting where we talk about life's problems, getting old.
Yeah, we talk about caffeine addiction.
Caffeine addiction, of course. Hey, a lot of people out there. That's it. So I'm not going to wait until the new year and go, new year, new me, 2022 kind of thing. I want to start it now, and what better way to do it than off the back of Halloween when I've ate all the sweet treats in the house. And also save money because they're not cheap. But either way, we digress. You're here for all of the juicy, sugar-free Stadia news this week. As I mentioned, we've got a terrific show. Unfortunately, we did miss our live stream this week, but don't worry, folks. We'll be back regularly scheduled programming next week with probably some pro games because there's quite a few, and we're going to break them all down as part of the news. Don't forget, hashtag Caring for the Clouds is still happening. It's actually... Oh, it may have ended, actually, now. Now I'm thinking of it, the date, the way this goes live. Amazing congratulations to all the wonderful people out there. John Scar organised it, pulled it all together. We kickstarted the whole event off with our charity stream, Richie, which was over a month ago nearly now, which is crazy.
I know,
it's crazy how fast time flies. It will be... Obviously, Halloween is now gone. We've got in the UK, we've got Bonfire Night or Guy Fawkes Night or Remember the 5th of November. You might sit down and watch the V for Vendetta movie. You do whatever you want. Just don't blow up Parliament is the general consensus.
I know it's tempting, but please don't.
It's not good for democracy, ladies and gentlemen. Fireworks.
Yeah, debatable.
Yeah, bonfires, that kind of thing. Similar celebration in terms of it blowing things up like the 4th of July, but for very different reasons. And then it'll be Christmas. Before we know it, Richie, it'll be Christmas. We'll blink. Stadia's birthday will have came and gone, and we'll have talked about it all the live long day. But we digress. Richie, before we do get into the thick of it, just a quick snippet of what you've been playing. Have you finished Persona? Tell me you've finished Persona.
Yeah, I have. I roll credits on it. I haven't started anything new yet, and actually I did start New Game Plus to try and do a bit of trophy hunting.
Okay.
But I'm not going for the platinum.
It's too much.
To go for the platinum, I'd have to basically almost do another full playthrough.
And sacrifice.
And I think this one I could do it even quicker because in the New Game Plus you do carry a lot of progress over. So I can basically one-shot most enemies in the early dungeons, so I could really power through if I wanted to, but...
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but you've got a choice now ahead of you of what to play next.
Yeah, so let me know in the comments what you think I should play next.
Ooh,
I'm thinking Ubisoft Plus, but with Far Cry kind of getting a bit mixed reception, my interest has waned a bit there.
Okay. Well, you've got a few pro games to test out, so that could just put you down the track of something else.
Yeah.
I'm actually starting to enjoy Far Cry a little bit more. However, I did go out and buy Guardians of the Galaxy, which I'm yet to start because sod's law. As soon as I make the decision to buy Guardians of the Galaxy, I've suddenly got this itch to play more Far Cry. It's so irritating. The game has been like you said, meandering for me. I've enjoyed it, but I've just really I've not been in the mood for it. And then as soon as I put my goddamn wallet down on a brand new game,
it hasn't got its hooks in yet.
All of a sudden I'm like, I kind of want to finish Far Cry before I start Guardians. I'm no good at multitasking with games now. Like I can't juggle 2 or 3 around like I used to. But I have wavered a little bit on the FIFA front. So I'm hoping that gives me spare time to play that. But either way,
yeah, FIFA's one of them that ebbs and flows. Like,
you're not missing.
You might not touch it for 2 months, then you'll play a new career mode.
Yeah.
So
the great thing with sports, isn't it? You're not going to miss a chapter beat by not playing it. So we'll get back to that. But Richie, we did say it's a very busy show. We spoke about sugar content, Halloween, what we've been
caffeine
playing,
addiction,
and all of the other things. But the lovely people who are watching along, listening along, at home, in their car, at their place of work, are here for one thing. So if you could do us the honours and introduce us to the
Super Sexy Special Stadia Story segment, aka the news.
Hot off the presses. They made us wait. For the news this week. Of course, people out there waiting for their November Pro games. Some people were thinking they're going to actually make us wait until November. Actually, till the month of November.
There was a point earlier this week that this episode was titled November Games, Pro Games.
We didn't know. The only reason I think they wouldn't actually wait until the day of is because the games would go up on the store before the blog post came out, which would defeat the whole kind of song and dance of the announcement. But later in the news...
It's also not a great look.
Yeah.
Like it's meant to be an announcement.
Yeah, and I know some people would rather wait and just stealth drop them, but... Part of having your games announced is the hype, isn't it? It's that final few days of the month you get teased about what's upcoming.
Yeah.
But later on in the news, we do actually have some stories that pertain to the way Stadia will be communicating with the big wide world out there a little bit closer detail. However, great. Got some exciting new games. A good month for me, personally, in terms of the titles. I've not bought any of them. So, quids in for Chris this month. How about you?
I've got 100 days.
I knew you were going to name drop them straight away. I was going to keep it on the...
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, you've only said one.
I have the wine game. But everyone knows I've got that game because we did a stream with me and Tom where we made a vineyard and got drunk.
Everyone's played the wine game at some point in their lives. So yes, let's dive into it, Richie.
Yeah.
Starting at probably the biggest game, Saints Row 4. So I'll give you a quick rundown. For those who know the Saints Row franchise, this is the one where the US president must save the Earth from an alien overlord, Zinyak, using an arsenal of superpowers and strange weapons in the wildest open-world game ever. Probably not, it's quite an older game. The epic conclusion to the game that changes all the rules. The Saints have gone from the crack house to the White House, but the Earth has been invaded and it's up to you to free the world from the Overlord and his alien empire. With homies new and old by your side and an arsenal of superpowers and strange weapons, you must save the world in the wildest open world game yet. Now, this is the one, Richie, when 3 Remastered came out. I thought it was the one where you were the president, and no, it was in fact this game I was thinking of, where you get loads of crazy weapons, you've got superpowers, you can run up and down buildings like the Flash, jump, leap like Superman, all that kind of stuff, aliens. It's absolutely batshit crazy. This is the one I was thinking of, and like many people out there, I saw on the Twitterverse, they saw Saints Row as a pro game and just presumed it was the one on the platform. This is brand new to Stadia. It's Saints Row for re-elected version, so it is the remastered take. Of course, available on other platforms for some time. But yeah, this is not the game that you may have already bought or played. This is brand new, coming out day one on the 1st of November.
This is the newest Saints Row game to come out as well.
Yeah, because they've not done one until next year's comes out.
Yeah, for like 9 years.
So, thoughts on this one, Richie?
I think it's a good get. I'm glad it's not Saints Row the Third. They give us the fourth one again. They give us the most newest one. You said it's probably the biggest game, but the fact that it is a 2013 title, I don't think it's the biggest game. I think there's one other game on the list because it's more recent. I think I describe as bigger than, but it's a very different game. So
oh yeah, it's definitely them just tooting their own horn. It's kind of like when Apple say it's the best iPhone to date. It's the best iPhone camera to date. It's like, well, yeah, because it's your products you're talking about. It should be the best. It's your latest innovation. So similar to this, but yeah, I think you're totally right there.
This is good get. We know there's a lot of people who are crying out for like something like Grand Theft Auto on the platform. Well, Saints Row 4 isn't Grand Theft Auto 5, but it kind of falls loosely into the same genre, that open world sandboxy style. It's a bit wacky, a bit crazier, but I do think it's a good get, and I think if you are waiting for Grand Theft Auto, which I still think is coming eventually.
Same.
This might tide you over for a bit, and with it being a pro game as well. Yeah, I'm happy.
What's to lose? Yeah, I feel exactly the same. It is very much. It's a Grand Theft Auto clone, which, in an ironic twist of Grand Theft Auto, I think we said a few weeks ago, Saints Row, obviously the new rebrand one is the 5th entry, is actually catching Grand Theft Auto up now because they haven't put out another game. Which again, it's funny because it is a clone of itself, and now it's in theory going to surpass them.
Well, it's a clone in a way, but it's also they've put their unique spin on it, so it's like it's not just a straight up we're trying to make Grand Theft Auto again. They've kind of taken a lot of the concepts of how the game plays out, but then go where Grand Theft Auto it's traditionally been somewhat a bit more grounded, a bit more focused on the crime. Well, Saints Row has kind of just went, you know what, let's go crazy.
Yeah. Indeed, it sits for me in that kind of double A franchise, but I'm happy to see it coming. There's a few things that I just want to take away from this announcement. Is one, it's another title for Stadia to get this year. It's again, of course, coming from the Embracer Group. Volition are the ones who developed this game originally. Does this put us in good stead, Richie, for the Saints Row reboot next year, 2022? Now we've got the third, the fourth, both remastered, and like you said, we haven't. The next entry isn't even out yet, but. Is this stacking the deck for a possible entry?
I'd hope so, but there again, the game is scheduled since the new Saints Row is scheduled to come out in late February next year, and it hasn't been announced to Stadia yet. Yeah. So in some ways, I hope it comes to the platform because I think it's a good get, and I think you mentioned Saints Row is for you like a AA franchise. I think the new one has the potential to take it into the AAA realm. Yeah,
I agree. I do also think it will be pushed from February because February's that crowded. I think it would make sense for Saints Row reboot to get out of that period.
Even if it's done, I think it's in their best interest to move it. Either move it forward or move it back.
Yeah, back seems like the safe bet, but yeah, February is that damn crowded now. I would not want to be in that mix with like the likes of is it Elden Ring as well out at the same time and Horizon?
Yeah, oh god, and there's loads.
It's like the list we could go on with it, but
for me though, part of me hopes that it kind of doesn't come to Stadia, kind of just because I wish they would just if this is come to Stadia, announce it, just announce it. It's a whole communication issue, which I'm sure we'll get into later in the show, but it's like...
well, yes, we might do.
We know it's coming to Windows, we know it's coming to PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S. So if it's coming to Stadia, why don't we already know that? There is no good reason for us to not know that information.
Because we're going to tell you in February. We're going to tell you on the date it launches. Either way.
And then everyone who's pre-ordered it has already got it somewhere else.
Or they're not playing it at all because there's so many other games to play. But we digress. Yeah. Great get for Pro, great get for the platform, and hopefully it is just setting the path for another brand new game sometime next year. Second Pro game of the month for November. We have, Richie alluded to it beforehand, 100 Days Winemaking Simulator. Winemaking could be your best adventure yet. Make the best wine interacting with soil and nature and take your winery to the top. Your beautiful journey into the winemaking tradition starts right now. And Richie, I of course want to throw it over to you. You and probably one of Tom's, I was going to say final appearances, but final makes it sound so final. One of his last appearances we had of our live streams was you and him popped open a bottle of red. And
I think we're both drinking red.
And dove into it. Do you want to just give the folks a little recap of what this game's about and how much you both enjoyed playing it?
Well, I actually, as ironic as it is, as me and Tom did, like, kind of had a bottle of wine each for the memes as part of like the game. I actually think this is the sort of game that does go down well, just with a quiet evening, a bottle of wine, because it's very much a simulator. Like, you get cards, the cards that you put on your vineyard to cause certain actions in order to look after your crop to make new bottles of wine, which then you sell hopefully for profit.
Yeah,
it's a simple game. But it's a very chill, relaxing game.
You guys played it with mouse and keyboard as well, right?
Yeah, I'd recommend playing that way. But it's not something like a roller coaster tycoon where everything's happening in real time. So you constantly what's going on over there, what's going on over there. it's all very just controlled, very calm.
Yeah.
You can just take your time making decisions.
Kind of like turn-based almost.
Yeah, it basically is.
Yeah. I think that's why I didn't end up buying it, because I was really excited for it because I thought it was going to be more like Roller Coaster Tycoon. And then after watching your Let's Play, which you should go check out, by the way, on the channel, folks, youtube.com/HadesCloud Games. Really good. It's about 2 or so hours of Tom and Richie getting drunk and setting up a wine distillery.
Do we go bankrupt? You'll have to watch to find out.
But yes, so now it's Pro. I'll jump in and check it out as well.
Yeah.
Following on from
it's just
that,
a very chill game.
We got another entry for your Pro games. 4 Pro games this month. Komono Heroes. Also, so Tsukigami, the moon god, has petrified the inhabitants of the forest, and only the 4 animal ninja masters can break the spell and restore their home. Harness each character's swift moves, arsenal of tools, and unique powers to fight through hordes of evil spirit minions to reach Mount Fuji and confront the moon god. Now, this in its simplest form, it reminds me of Monster Boy, but with older style graphics. If you almost like peeled Monster Boy's aesthetics back a little bit more to more nostalgic Sega NES times, and essentially you take the form of 4 different animals with different abilities, very very similar, and try and fight the moon god in what looks like a very throwback game to Sonic, Mario era.
The graphic style does kind of look like it was come straight from the Sega Mega Drive, which is clearly a choice, and I think it's quite a good one, to be honest. But yeah, it's just a side-scrolling action adventure game, and it looks fun if there's sort of games you're into. I'm not usually a big lover of them sort of games. I find them too difficult.
Yeah, it's another title from NIS America that we've got, and we should point out as well, it's available on Nintendo and Stadia at the moment, so it's not actually widely accessible out there. The characters you do play as, it's a fox, I want to say a squirrel, a cat, and a monkey. So you get a good array of different animals in there.
It's a rabbit, isn't it?
Which one? No, it's a squirrel. Fox, squirrel.
Is it definitely a squirrel?
Cat and monkey. Yeah, I'm on the website now. I can see it.
All right.
So to give you a rundown of the different characters, you've got Fox Ninja Master. He's the leader of the Ninja Masters. He's got the ability to transform into enemies, allowing him to gain their powers. So he takes on them. You've got the squirrel. She's not only the cheeriest, apparently, Richie. She can glide through the air using the fur flaps under her arms. It's a weird sentence. And travel great distances. So she's kind of like, I'd imagine like Knuckles, where he has like little glide ability in the Sonic games. Yeah. You've got Miyuki, who's the cat, known for her heightened combat abilities. Sharp claws, can climb up walls and reach areas other masters cannot. So that's similar to, imagine the... what's the Ninja Gaiden games where you're jumping from wall to wall, maybe? Yeah. And then you, who's the monkey ninja, he's energetic, mischievous, he's very nimble, dexterous, and can climb across ropes with ease. So I'm immediately in my mind from the trailer and this, it is very much a mix of Monster Boy, and you have to use a collection of all the characters to navigate to every area of the map, defeat the enemies, and get from traditional left to right and complete the levels. But nice to see it. Nice to see it on Pro. I'm definitely going to check it out on Pro. I don't think I would have bought it. It was probably a title, I think, if I recall at the time, we all said, we'll wait till it goes Pro.
It looks cool. It looks cool, but it's very much, don't need to play this now. Let's check out when it goes Pro. Yeah. And now we have it.
So it rings true. It rings true. And then final title for the programs for the month of November, Dirt 5, which for me is the more probably surprising one. So Dirt 5, of course, is a fun, amplified off-road arcade racing experience created by Codemasters, which is what we're going to get into now. Blaze a trail on routes across the world covering gravel, ice, snow and sand with a roster of cars ranging from rally icons to trucks to GT heroes. I had Dirt Rally on PlayStation, was the last Dirt entry I got. Again, racing games, we've said before, not so much my thing anymore. As an adult who can drive a real car, it doesn't have as much kick as it used to when I was growing up. Dirt 5 looks super fun. The price, with it being a brand new launch title on Stadia, did it come day and day, or was it delayed? My memory's letting me go. Too much sugar.
I don't think it was day and date. I don't think it was huge after.
I feel like it came out in November, and I feel like we got it in the January or February or something on Stadia.
Yeah, it was between the 12th and 19th of November for most platforms, Stadia the 24th of March, so there's a couple of months.
Yeah. All right, okay, no problem. So Dirt 5, and now
it's a 1-year-old game.
Yeah.
We're talking about a 1-year-old game, basically.
Although it's not the year 1 edition of the game we're getting, it's the entry level, which is expected. We'll definitely be playing this, Richie. It's got racing co-op. We have so much fun with Grid.
Yeah.
I hope it says off-road arcade. Now, when I actually played Dirt Rally, I felt like Dirt Rally was a bit more to simulation, which I was actually surprised by. And I prefer the arcade. I've said before about the Need for Speed style racing. So Dirt 5, I'm hoping, leans more into that way of driving. But I think if we peel back the layers on this one a little bit, the more interesting point is this deal is now Codemasters, also owned by EA. So the kind of underlining thing is this is probably a more recent deal that's gone ahead. So
possibly
EA testing the waters out with Pro.
It is possible though that this deal was made round about this time last year when they're bringing the game to the platform. We'll get that for it to go into Pro at a later date. But who knows? But it could be. This could be positive news. I like to think it's going to be positive news for more EA games coming to the platform. I'm going to choose to take the positive route on this one.
Yeah, I mean, for all we know, it could have happened last week. They left us wait until the very end of the month to tell us the Pro game.
It happened on Thursday.
Sign this off, please. So Dirt 5, I think it's a great get actually. In terms of the titles, I know Saints Row is an older game, but it's still brand new to the platform, and they're giving it to us day and date. Dirt 5, again, AAA title, only came out, in theory, in Stadia this year. So we're getting a game that's not even been on the platform 12 months for free.
Well, it's not even 12 months old for other platforms, so you can't really complain.
No, not at all. For free, so that's well worth you. Especially if you're into racing, that's well worth your $9.99 or whatever is per month. And
there's a reason EA bought Codemasters, because Codemasters arguably make the best racing games in the video game industry. And this is their take on an arcade rally game. So I'm expecting good things from this.
Same. Should we lock Dirt 5 in for our Thursday stream this week, Richie?
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet. To be honest, as soon as I saw Dirt 5 was coming as a pro game, that's what we're playing next Thursday.
Yeah, because usually we haven't sorted it out yet. We want to wait till see how the week goes.
Yeah.
And Dirt 5, there it is, folks. You heard it here. So every Thursday, we do weekly live streams with you, the community out there. Join us. Get your car keys, strap in. Let's have a race out there in the Dirt 5. And that is the end of your pro games for November. Great month, quite frankly. And I'm expecting good things for December as well, because December was crazy last year, if I recall. We got like 7 games.
Yeah, it was.
So either they're going to do the same again or not. But I've got this little voice in my head, Richie, that's telling me we might get one of those Grand Theft Auto remasters for a December pro game. I don't know why.
I think at the moment, all eyes are kind of on Stadia with their birthday coming up and going, what you're going to do for that, if anything. And the Grand Theft Auto announcement of things like Grand Theft Auto remasters coming to the platform will be a good thing, I think, to work into that. But I think it's more likely we'll hear about that more at Game Awards, because there is leaks and stuff coming at the moment. Game Awards is December.
I think it's going to be out before. They've got a date on it now. You can pre-order it. The remastered ones. Yeah, it's like end of November, I think. Yeah. But just picture this in a world where PlayStation now, if I recall, is getting GTA 3. Game Pass is getting San Andreas. Imagine if Stadia got Vice City on Pro.
That would be awesome.
Because Rockstar must be hashing out these deals somewhere, making that money. But we'll see. Hopefully someone at Google had a knock on the door and it said, "Hi, it's a representative from Rockstar. Would you like Vice City for $2 million?" And he goes,
"Yeah.
Budget's not really that." But then he said, "You know what? It's Christmas. We'll take it. Pro for December." Or even November, in fact. Stealth drop another one for this month to add to Dirt 5 and Komono Heroes. Either way, we can dream. It's the spirit of dreams, Richie. Ghosts and ghouls and goblins and Halloween. Make a wish to the pumpkin, folks. Make a wish to the pumpkin. Still don't know what it is, Richie?
I don't.
Good.
I recognise it, but it's not. I don't recognise it well enough.
I'll tell you after the show. Right, moving on then. Not only do we get our pro games for November, we got some exciting new games announced full stop. So brand new titles to the platform. Starting with World War Z Aftermath is coming to Stadia this winter. And I'm really excited for this one. So the World War Z game I just like shooting zombies, quite frankly, and it's been a while since I've played a proper zombie game. We had Zombie Army on Stadia, great game from Rebellion Studios, but it's not quite the same as. I feel two ways about this because I'll read the blurb thing. So World War Z Aftermath is the ultimate co-op zombie shooter inspired by Paramount Pictures' blockbuster film, starring Brad Pitt, of course, we all know that, and the next evolution of the original hit World War Z. That's now captivated over 15 million players since launch. Turn the tides of the zombie apocalypse on Stadia with full support for cross-play platforms with PC and console. Join up with 3 friends or play on your own with AI teammates against hordes of ravenous zombies in an intense story episodes across zombie-ravaged locations around the world. New stories, next generation of zombie swarms with XL mode, deep progression and new perspectives, free boosters, zombie update, etc., etc. Now, two minds. Love the fact that we're getting this game. Then on the flip side, super disappointed it's gone first person, because the reason I really enjoyed World War Z is because it's third person.
It's either,
right? Oh, can you flip between them?
I was watching an IGN review of it this morning, and they were saying basically they were talking about the first person mode as an additional feature that's been incorporated.
That's great.
But they were actually quite critical because apparently when you're in first person mode, you don't aim down the sights. So when you kind of hold L2 in or right click to look down with your sights, what you would in a traditional first person game, it kind of just zooms in a bit.
Because
even though some guns have a massive scope sat on top of it.
That might be because it's originally a third person game then, and they haven't quite got the. Okay. Well, that's better. That's good news for me because I prefer third person, especially when I'm being hunted by zombies. I would like to know if something's behind me or to the left and right of me. Whereas in first person, you've got the kind of blinkers on a little bit.
So I don't know whether this is a case of it's a choice or is it a different game mode, but either way, there's ways. Yeah,
we're gonna go hunt down some hordes of zombies.
I think it's an interesting one if it is a different game mode, because as you said, when you're in first person, it changes your perspective of your surroundings, which then changes the way you play the game, changes your approach.
Yeah.
So it's quite an interesting way to give new depth to the game if they implement it properly, which they, from what I've heard, they haven't.
Yeah. However, I'm just happy we're getting it. It's one of those titles where it says in the article 15 million players, but I've seen it go on different offers and promotions on PlayStation, and I've never quite jumped into it. But it reminds again Left 4 Dead vibes. We don't have Back 4 Blood on the platform. We don't have Left 4 Dead on the platform. Zombie Army does a great job, but it's very much not designed. Its design isn't centered around this, which this is. I'm talking mass hordes, and as one of the few people who apparently like Days Gone on PlayStation, one of its best features was the hordes flooding out of doorways, over bridges, over fences to get to you. And this is exactly what this game is about. So you, me, Tom, Richie, the Stadia community, let's get out there and just destroy hordes of zombies with grenades, bombs, flamethrowers, different all new weapons and stuff as well, with progression in different class systems: medic, slasher, hellraiser, exterminator, drone master, vanguard class, daily missions, special modifiers. Sounds like a hell of a lot of fun.
Sounds good.
And again, coming from Saber Interactive, so part of the Embracer Group. So we've got an interesting dynamic now going. We always say Ubisoft are one of Stadia's biggest supporters. Embracer Group, keeping up par with them now in terms of the quantity. And then you've got Outright Games as well. We're not done with them with the news yet, but Outright Games publishing left, right, and centre too. And I'm interested to see what the game count is going to be for the end of this year. It does say coming winter, which in my mind is before Christmas, but I know winter extends into...
Winter kind of starts mid-December, technically, and goes into March, so...
Yeah, so we've got a bit of a window. They only said this winter. However,
yes. I would expect this next year.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
I'm going to say January. But you never know. We might get lucky. We might get this for Christmas.
It might be one of those extra games.
This would be an awesome December Pro game.
It would. Forget Santa, shoot some zombies instead.
Because it's the sort of game for me where it's very much price dependent whether I buy it or not. This could be a game that's worth probably about into like the $60 mark, but I'm probably not going to spend that much on it because I won't get the time out of it.
Yeah, I think it'd be a great one for Pro indeed.
Yeah.
Moving on though, away from the zombies, to things that you can kill them with. Fire Commander, a new title also announced for Stadia. So have you ever wondered, Richie, what it would feel like to virtually control your own group of firefighters and also manage your own fire station? Well, very soon you'll be able to do that with the firefighting real-time strategy title, Fire Commander, confirmed coming to Stadia in 2022. So this is a game, looking at the trailer, where you literally have your own little squad, you've got your fire department, and it's almost like a simulator game, but you also play the action moments as well. Fire Commander, coming to Stadia.
Well, it's described as a real-time strategy, which is quite an interesting take on the genre, to be honest.
With and firefighters.
Critically, this is a brand new game. Mm-hmm. This isn't out yet anywhere.
It doesn't say first to Stadia, but...
No, it's not. It is confirmed for other platforms. There's the Steam page already up. Because when there's a game like this I've never heard of before, I do actually go digging sometimes to see if it's out anywhere else. And you can actually get a demo on Steam. So if you look at this game going, I'm really interested in that, maybe head over to Steam, check out the demo.
Yeah, get your feelers out there. In terms of firefighting games, of course, we've played Ember on Stadia.
Yeah,
makes for an interesting concept. You put out fires and stuff, but this one comes with different classes of firefighter, 30 thrilling missions, unlockable skills, numerous rescue vehicles, and a growing fire station, story and side missions, and an enemy you cannot outpower, only outsmart. Fire is the true enemy here. Interesting. Does it say anywhere if it's co-op on the Steam page? I can't see. Blogging. I'd imagine it's RTS, but I feel like it would lend itself to.
A lot of RTSs are online. It doesn't. The tags strategy simulation, real time tactics, realistic.
Yeah. It sounds
actually there's a weird thing. The developers are currently streaming it.
Oh, as we speak.
Yeah, as we speak, because Steam has a feature where you can broadcast. So the developers are literally it's single player.
I was going to say, get in the chat and tell them. That makes sense. I mean, it looks like you control the whole squad, so highlight them, click them, and get them to go put out a fire in a particular area. So yeah, I could see them using co-op elements, but again, I'm a big fan of RTS games, so
it might be something they'll bring out later.
Yeah, looking forward to it though. Fire Commander coming to a Stadia near you. Terrific. So that's it for all of the newer game announcements this week. Let's move things on, Richie, to the next story of the week. I mentioned at the top of the show, Ubisoft had the earnings call. They've also posted some new content this particular week regarding a lot of their games, actually. And first up, we're going to talk about today, weirdly, Ghost Recon Breakpoint is getting an update that adds a whole new game mode, and it's raising the level cap substantially. So I know what you're all thinking out there. Ubisoft is still supporting Ghost Recon Breakpoint after nearly 2 years. Haven't they got a new game in the works? They've moved on. But actually, no. Operation Motherland, they dropped a trailer for it this week that shows essentially a new antagonist, a new approach to the title. And yes, as of the time recording, 2nd of November, so probably tomorrow, the game is getting a huge update that adds an entirely new story mode. It takes place after the main plot, and as the Ghost, the main kind of your team in the game, they are now thrown back in to liberate the island of Aurora. Would you say that is Aurora? Aurora? A-U-R-O-A. Aurora? Either way, it's the island that starts with an A. In order to keep the peace, it's a new single player or co-op, because that's what the game's all about, conquest mode, which is accessed separately from the core game. The map is split up into different territories, and it's your job to disrupt the enemy activity before offing the big baddies. Of course, sounds very Ubisoft. Here's a new map, clear the locations out, take over. The level cap has been increased from 30 to 99. So
that's substantial.
Yeah, just a little bit. And in a weird way, it has me intrigued.
I'm pretty sure the level cap is probably to do with conquest mode, where this seems to be like a game mode designed for you to keep jumping in and out of, rather than traditional story modes where you can probably play through and then go, okay, I'm done.
Yeah. And
seems to be part of Ubisoft's grander strategy. So I'm kind of not surprised this is coming. But
yeah, it's again back to that kind of Ubisoft model where they support the games. I'm always happy for new content to come, especially if it breathes new life into something.
It almost feels like the way the order they announce these things is completely wrong way around. If they announced this, brought in Conquest mode, got people hands on it, get them playing Conquest modes, realise that Ghost Recon can work in this kind of more multiplayer centred thing rather than just directly story based, Frontline might have been a bit better received, the announcement.
Yeah, it's a little bit. It's kind of just like roll the dice and see how this stuff lands. But yeah, obviously, Tom Clancy.
They could have brought this out as like, we're experimenting with the format. Here you go. What do you guys think with an established game that people already have? So, I mean, who's going to complain about new content coming to a game you have, especially if it's a free upgrade?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
is this free? Oh no, how do we know?
I don't think they've disclosed it yet because it's still. Although it comes out this week, I'll just. Doesn't say in the article whether or not it's free or not. I feel like it has to be, right? If it's a year 2 content of a game that no one's that fussed on.
I could see being Ubisoft dropping the season pass though, but there again, it'll be free with Ubisoft Plus.
Yeah, that's true, and we'll find out in due course, of course. And we should point out as well, I've enjoyed my time when we've played Wildlands. We unfortunately jumped in a Breakpoint on a free weekend, and I think my internet messed up, which meant we couldn't actually play it for very long at all. But in terms
I forgot about that.
We did, yeah. But of course, the gameplay mirrors Division quite a lot, and it's that third-person shooter that I enjoy. I don't have the time to commit to these massive open-world games as much as I would have done in my teenage years or youth, as they say.
For me, I like them, but I don't like them enough to dedicate the level of time and commitment that it needs.
Yeah. I think that probably goes for a lot of our listeners' views out there. Our Discord chat constantly is people saying, haven't got time for this. Oh, there's a new game announcement. And I think it's like Stadia's demographic is your more casual gamer who just doesn't have the time to dedicate to it.
Yeah.
And like we lose a lot of our gaming time putting together this show, ironically enough, talking about games, detracts at least 4 or 5 hours a week probably of our time from playing 4 or 5 hours of a game. But either way, November 2nd, Ghost Recon Breakpoint will have the Motherland DLC. And then that moves on to our next story as well, which is The Division. Of course, we know The Division isn't going anywhere. They've already said there's a new slate coming out. They have announced the content update. It was expected late 2021. It's now been pushed back to March next year. So following the earnings report, they came out and said, since the updates have been limited on previous seasons, while Ubisoft works away on the next major release for Division, of course, we've got Heartlands. That has also been pushed back. So Heartlands has gone into 2022-23 release slate because they do everything by financial quarters. So essentially, Heartlands gone back, but I think that's going to give Division 2 a bit more time to breathe because I think Ubisoft are probably seeing a bit of surprising success with the Division seems to be their strongest Tom Clancy's frontrunner. And I don't think they want to leave it behind as much as they initially intended to.
The whole next kind of section of content wasn't planned. This wasn't part of their initial plan for the game. They were already done with this, so they were probably already working in Heartlands. But because of how popular Division 2 has been, they decided to give another year's worth of content. And then they've probably just recently made a decision, you know what, we need to do something about Division, about Heartlands and Division 2, how they're a bit too close to each other. There might have just been a case of, let's push Heartlands back, get the Division 2 content update out there, and then Heartlands can come later in the year.
Yeah. It's similar to... I just think it does better than the other ones, and I think it's so weird to think that they're now coming out and going, we're going to support Breakpoint for another year, we're doing the Division for another year, we've got Heartlands coming in the future, which is Heartlands going to be a continuation of Division 2, or is it going to be its own thing? And this is where Ubisoft find themselves in such an odd place at the moment, where they're juggling so many things. Even within their studios, Richie, Massive, who work on the Division, and they're doing the Division DLC, they're also working on the Avatar game, which is slated for next year. And they're also the guys working on the Star Wars game as well that they announced. How big is this studio? And I know Ubisoft share assets around a lot of their things, but I just hope they're not being stretched too thin.
Yeah, same. And I could see Ubisoft doing that, to be honest, because we've already talked about in one of our side quests recently how Ubisoft games tend to feel very generic. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes if you just kind of, it's almost like the development studios and it's like they're more of a factory rather than a creative endeavor. So it's like, okay, this guy does this team. Once that's done, it moves on to this team, and everything's probably very, very scripted and organized in how they develop a game. And every game kind of goes through the same sort of cycles and passes through the same hands, which might be why it's great for probably optimization of the workload, because then you don't have part of your team sat there waiting for other parts of the team to finish their bit because they're working on a different game.
Yeah.
And go, okay, we're working on Star Wars while you're working on Division. Okay, we'll switch over to Division when you're doing your third bit, and you can work a bit on Star Wars. And there's ways and means.
Yeah,
but
and we said in the side quest how like Ubisoft's games have a very Ubisoft feel about them, and I can imagine there's lots of simple crossover where like all of the plants and the kind of the building style. If you were doing something like a Star Wars game, you could pull assets of vegetation and flora, fauna, and just change the color to maybe a blue leaf or a bright orange or a yellow leaf, and all of a sudden it looks like something from a different planet as opposed to in Washington DC or New York, just by tweaking little assets here and there. And it's a curious one. I'm a big, again, I think I've said before, I'm a bigger fan of The Division than most of those titles. The fact that it's getting more content, I was happy with the initial announcement. It's been pushed back. I don't mind it being pushed back. They have explicitly said, again, the Division's major content update will be a significant change to the end game with new features and new game modes on par with their vision. Of course, earlier in the year, they shared that they'll make some iterations to it, and it's changed. And I think they were caught out by how successful Division 2 has still been since the Warlords of New York expansion and such. I'm a big fan of these titles. I wish they just weren't numbered. I wish it was just The Division and it was just content.
Yeah, for me, it's either you go, we're not going to stick a number on this is The Division and we're going to continue, or you make it a very strict single-player story-based game, or co-op game. It can be multiplayer, but not a persistent one. And go, you know what, once we've told the story here, we're done, and then we're going to do something else. I actually think I would prefer The Division to be just a straight up single player game personally, but that's just, I prefer single player games to multiplayer games. So
either way, it's great to see there's new content. I love the fact that they support it time and time again. We've seen the success they've had with titles like Rainbow Six Siege. However, they still can benefit from single-player games, Richie, because the next story of the week from Ubisoft relates to Valhalla, and Ubisoft have confirmed that Assassin's Creed Valhalla is their second largest profit-generating game to date. So it's absolutely smashed out the park, Valhalla. It's pipped the post, so we know it previously had the biggest launch of any Assassin's Creed game to date. It reached that milestone in under 12 months, so just as its 1 year anniversary comes up, Ubisoft quotes outperforming Assassin's Creed Odyssey across the board since its release. In particular, it highlights higher daily average revenue per user and a record engagement for its Siege of Paris expansion. So again, Ubisoft is seeing more daily users, more revenue, and I'd imagine it's got to be in terms of cosmetics. But weirdly enough, more importantly, more people playing the expansion passes, which if you were to look at achievements and trophies on games, DLC and expansions, if you look at some trophies, Richie, for some PlayStation games, the percentage of completion on the DLC is like embarrassingly low. You're talking like 1% and 2% completion, which makes you think there's not many
because of people like me,
who just don't buy it or you play the game.
I don't bother with it. Yeah.
Whereas is there a shift now in the industry, which I believe there is anyway, that actually people prefer to play a few games but for longer rather than many games across the course of the year? And Valhalla seems to be an example of that.
I think it's a bit of both. I think there's people like me. I actually, I know it's kind of weird that I've just completed Persona 5 and it took me like 115 hours to do. But in a lot of cases, I prefer a tighter, smaller game, maybe into like the 30, 40 hour period, and then be done with it and move on. But then there's the other side of it, which I used to be part of, where some people, a game becomes the hobby itself. Back in my World of Warcraft days, my gaming wasn't really the hobby. I'd play other games, but World of Warcraft was the primary part of the hobby, and then occasionally I'd dabble for a couple of other games on the side. So I think it's kind of both. I think Ubisoft is kind of banking on the latter half there, where people are just sticking around. Where, for me, once I'm done with a game, like I'm kind of usually done with it. It's like, especially because DLC usually comes out months after the initial launch. So if I get a game on launch, then I've played it, then I have to wait 3 months for DLC. I'm probably not interested in the DLC.
Yeah.
Like,
for me, it's usually if the story gets its hooks in you, or how much you have enjoyed the game. Like I've said many times, the DLC for Origins is amazing, but that's just because the content appeals to me more. Whereas clearly Valhalla, it's a general consensus, has outperformed Odyssey and Origins, which I'm surprised at that, because I
always felt like Valhalla was doing okay, but Odyssey seemed to have a lot more hype around it.
Mm-hmm. And I enjoyed Origins more than both of them. But then again, this is like, if Valhalla in theory should be more up our street because we're from the UK. Yeah. And yet I probably enjoyed it the least out of all three of them. I think for me it goes Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla. But
I think Valhalla is probably the least talked about of the three in just general conversation.
And yet it's the most successful.
Yeah.
But this could go back to things like COVID, more people playing games now, the industry is getting bigger and bigger every single day. There's more platforms. Valhalla and obviously Odyssey are on Luna, Cloud, Xbox and everything, PlayStation is tradition. But it's interesting to see, and I think Ubisoft are definitely the front runner when it comes to pivoting to not necessarily dragging games out in a bad way, but expanding the life of games that otherwise wouldn't have it. Like, traditionally, Assassin's Creed was in and out story. And now, as we know, we reported on the long-rumoured Year 2 content we know is coming. Last week we reported on it being based on Ragnarok, and you're going to go to Muspelheim and potentially fight more monsters and such. And evidently, if Ubisoft are looking at the numbers, it's cheaper to just turn over assets of a game that's already out than it is from building something from the ground up. Because, let's face it, we will have an Assassin's Creed game next year, most likely.
Yeah, well, probably Infinity.
Yeah, whatever that looks like, because more stuff came out about that. We still don't know where Skull and Bones is. We know Rocksmith was delayed, and they also announced as part of their earnings call that the Prince of Persia game, which isn't confirmed for Stadia, but I do think it will come to Stadia. It seems odd that it's the only Ubisoft title that hasn't been announced. But
yeah, I think any conversation around that is probably stalled because of when they announced it. Everyone went, "What? This isn't just the PS2 game."
Yeah. But they've delayed it again. They haven't given a date for when it's going to be out yet, or a window.
They've acknowledged they're still working on it. That's about all we know.
It's about as much as we can expect. Yeah. And they're just working towards those goals. So again, Ubisoft have a lot of internal problems going on right now.
Yeah, but Skull and Bones is still set to be released in the fiscal year 2022-2023. So that's like April onwards.
Mm-hmm. Very true. But that's it for your Ubisoft segment of the show. I feel like the show should actually have a weekly Ubisoft segment because they do so much for the platform and most platforms out there. Next up, a little sideway portion towards the news. I mentioned it at the top of the show, but we got an interesting blog post out it wasn't even a blog post actually, it was a Reddit thread post, and it was giving people updates. So in light of us not getting a blog post this Tuesday, and the pro games were put back a little bit further, we got a Reddit thread from Grace, fantastic community manager for Stadia over there, saying, "Hey everyone, I hope you're all having a great start to your week. We wanted to take this opportunity to discuss an upcoming change to This Week on Stadia. And 3 bullet points. We'll be moving This Week on Stadia to a bi-weekly cadence. We're committed to delivering information and updates to you all in the best possible way, and we believe that moving to this new cadence is best for now. You will still see our other blog posts like new game announcements, developer Q&As, and the monthly Stadia save point posts, plus updates on the Stadia dev blog. We will continue posting feature announcements as new features roll out to everyone." This obviously flipped the table for a lot of people.
Yeah, my initial reaction is, the community crying out for more information about what's going on, what's going forward, why should I keep investing in this platform? And your response was, let's give less. However, since that, we've had about 4 blog posts. So this is one element. So of further thought, it's like this is one element of what their posts are going. It'd be like, say, if we said side quests is going to be every fortnightly, but then we had a different podcast every other week.
To kind of segment it in. And it is kind of a weird thing where we almost have been conditioned, and the Stadia hardcore fans and people like us who follow it so closely, we've became familiar with getting our news from these weekly posts. But in reality, the This Week on Stadia blog post, it kind of covers everything that the Twitter feed does and the social feeds, and we get a lot of our news from other sources, like Stadia Source do great work for getting like rated games from ASRB. We get articles like that randomly drop from like interviews. I think there was an interview this week about state share that came from inputmag.com. That's not
we often know post. We often know what's in the blog post before the blog post goes live, and sometimes we've even covered it already on a podcast.
Yeah. And then we go, have we not covered this already? And we question ourselves and our own memory. But the reality is, it's an online post. It gives us information. If you follow them on Twitter, if you follow them on YouTube, you will see the trailers when they drop. You will see, like, I mean, come on, guy. It's a blog post. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, for me, it's this. On the surface, it seems like we're going to give you less information less frequently. But if there are still pushing other verticals from of their posts, like the save points, the announcement, the developer Q&As, the other blog posts and stuff, which aren't under the This Week in Stadia banner, you might actually find you're getting this information at the same frequency, just in a slightly different formats.
In a bit more detail, hopefully. But
it's a time will tell situation.
And I can completely understand, by the way, the knee-jerk reaction to go, it's less information. It does sound like that. Like, every other platform has like weekly blogs, and it's easy to look at it and say, like, they just don't have enough to talk about to merit a weekly post, which is a bad thing. If that is true, that's bad.
But as I said in our Discord, we find enough news to talk about for Stadia to put an hour and a half show together every single week.
So there's stuff out there.
So
and that's,
there's stuff out there.
Yeah, and that's the ironic thing that you rightly said. The week they said they were going to change it is that's when we got a community post, we got game announcements, we got games that came to the platform that weren't even in the blog post. We had like Peppa Pig and such drop. But the interesting little thing for me from the weekly post, I think I mentioned it about a pre-show, the pro game community post when it did finally drop. The pro games, they don't spend time talking about them. So within the post, they focused on like Hello Engineer, which we covered last week. So it's out of early access. Congratulations. The initial paragraph is like a Dead by Daylight thing, which I get it's Halloween, but it's an old game, and I don't think that many people are playing it. Sorry, Dom. I know you're watching. I know you love the game. But then they spent like half a paragraph on Saints Row, and then as far as the other pro games got, 100 Days, Dirt 5 and Komono Heroes coming your way to Pro in November. That's it. They literally got their name title dropped. There's no breakdown of what 100 Days in, Dirt 5. Like, Dirt 5 is arguably the biggest game there, and it got its title. That was it. And then they went on to talk about Child of Light, which that got a whole paragraph, and that's been on the platform for over a week now. Peppa Pig got its own paragraph, which I know is huge. Kakarot did, Riders Republic. So there's a lot of information in the blog post, but then still they've neglected to talk about other things in a bit more detail, which I think if you're going to do it bi-weekly or fortnightly, as we say in the UK, then just use all of the page to tell me about what Dirt 5 is. Tell me you're giving me a AAA game for free.
Yeah, I wonder if they've got like a maximum word count to let them post in the
not Twitter.
In the blog post.
It's their own thing.
Yeah, but I can see them doing that. They've like Google Analytics says you can't put something that's more than this many words, so they have to condense it. Where basically they're putting artificial limitations on them. Yeah. So when they've got a lot of news to actually say, they're restricting themselves.
Yeah, we should mention as well the whole. I know I said there the bi-weekly thing. Yeah, bi-weekly can mean both twice a week and once every 2 weeks. And I saw some people got the whole wrong end of the stick and thought we get 2 posts a week. This is great, and then everyone was like, "No, I think they mean the other one."
Yeah. They have this week on Stadia and this weekend on
This
Stadia.
weekend. Yeah, why not? But then the reality is, it's every fortnight you will get
This weekend on Stadia. Every single blog post is we're taking 2 days off.
taking it off. But then on the flip side of all this news, Richie, we said ironically enough, then we had more news than ever, and Stadia put out another post talking about the 20 games that are now powered by Stadia specific features. Stream Connect, State Share, Crowd Play, Crowd Choice. They all got a massive promotion. All of the games got their title card promotions that are included in there. They mentioned about some new games getting new features. They highlighted them with some thumbnails and some artwork. And then, funnily enough, this is what opened the door for news websites, journalists to actually report on this. The Verge picked it up. Who did I throw under the bus because it was terribly out of time? I tweeted about it. Who was it?
God, I know this one.
GamesIndustry.biz. New features coming to Stadia that we've had for 6 months now. And GamesIndustry.biz do some fantastic reporting. They're not quite a Kotaku. And yet they touted the article as though like State Share and stuff were new features, and we've been playing them for half a year now. And it's like, how disconnected from your source material can you be that you're reporting on something new? And my ironic twist on it was, imagine, Richie, someone's just signed for Manchester United. He's been playing for the club for 6 months, and then BBC Sport pick up on it and go, oh, new player for Manchester United played this weekend. It's like, he's got 20 caps for them already. He's made public appearances and press junkets and everything. Yeah. And it's like a headline article. It's like, guys.
To semi-defend GameIndustry.biz, I don't think Stadia helped themselves with how they keep everything close to the chest. So if you're not on the ball paying attention, focusing on Stadia, it's easy to miss stuff, especially when most of the news they push through is through a blog post or Reddit post, which I've said before and I will continue to say is objectively a terrible way to promote stuff, because if you're not looking for that information, you're not going to find it.
Yeah, it's buried in the weeds almost.
I mean, you'd like to think they do the research a bit better before writing the article, and you'd think that the editor would be going, are you sure these are new announcements, that sort of things.
Yeah.
But
alas,
so I think this game it's a bit sloppy from GameIndustry.biz, but Stadia can help themselves out a bit more on this.
Mm-hmm. But it was nice to see other journalistic websites like picking up on some of the new features and again some newer titles. And the article, the blog post they put out on the community feed, incredibly detailed. It's probably the most detail we've got since the GDC conversations, actually breaking down each particular unique feature, what it means, a game example of it working. And you've got something again. You've got Borderlands, the Ghost Recon games, Far Cry 6, the Hitman titles, amongst others. Really, really touting that. So I think it's a good blog post, and we'll possibly talk about it more in a side quest episode. Yeah. Off the back of that, though, speaking of, next up story comes from the slayersclub.bethesda.net. State Share, in line with the article we just mentioned, came to Doom Eternal. So, which is surprising on a few fronts. One for me is that obviously Bethesda's been owned by Microsoft for quite some time now. Obviously, they're still chipping away and working on Doom Eternal. But to work on a Stadia-specific feature, I'm guessing it was just down to probably contractual obligations. But Doom Eternal, terrific get. You can just share your state, save the score, the weapon loadout at the end of each Horde mode round, use the state share to challenge your friends to beat the score simply by just sharing a link. Which is awesome.
Yeah, this is awesome. So they've added a completely new mode in to kind of prolong the life of the game. Same as what Ubisoft are doing with what was it? We only talked about it not long ago. Breakpoint, and then adding state change into that. So like cool. Can you beat with this weapon? With this loadout, can you beat my score?
Go, knock it out.
It's all good.
And so that's the update is 6.66 update, which is just typical Bethesda tongue-in-cheek comedy. New features, new content coming to Doom. Horde mode is kind of the big crux of it all. So if you've got Doom Eternal, if you've been thinking about buying it or jumping back in, and I read from the blog, compete for the highest score by battling wave after wave of demons across 3 missions from Doom Eternal and the Ancient Gods Part 1 and 2. In this challenging new single-player game mode, you'll need to keep your wits about you and your skills sharp. Like a classic arcade game, there aren't any checkpoints. You start with just 3 extra lives, so classic Doom. But there are more to earn as you progress. You begin with only a full mastered combat shotgun, unlocking new weapons at random as you complete each arena round. New milestones and unlock new and cool cosmetic items as you progress. So yeah, hard mode, 3 arenas, but more importantly on Stadia specifically, you can wrap up with all that, share your link, and then other people can compete in your state share. Interesting use of it. I like it, and I like the fact that they're either beholden to their contract or they are maybe Bethesda just testing it out for Microsoft. Do you think?
I don't know. I imagine Stadia have got some patents on stuff like state share. So
yeah, that's a good point.
It might just be a case of, although Bethesda is under the Microsoft banner, they're still a company in their own right. It might just be a case of we've made this hard mode. It's like, oh wait, we could use this feature on Stadia because we know Bethesda were quite close initially with Stadia.
Yeah. Well, Doom Eternal was going to be one of their launch titles, if we remember. We threw it back 2 years nearly. 2 years nearly, Richie. 2 years.
I think Doom 2016 was one of the things that they demoed it on.
Yeah,
they demoed Stadia
to show the lack of latency. So amazing stuff. But check State out. Check out all the new features, and hopefully some more articles will pick up on it. Just like another feature that was announced and within the week, and that was free trials coming to the platform, and it's launched with Hello Engineer. Check out my and Richie's first look on the channel, Helix Cloud Games. We dived in. Took a little bit of a while, Richie, for us to get our head around Hello Engineer, but we did in the end.
And then your internet died,
so
we didn't really get. It's not the greatest stream we've ever done. Let's be fair.
It's still about an hour or so long anyway, and we had some fun chipping away. But in with the free trials, yes, they've since extended that to Control as well. But essentially, you can play the full game for 30 minutes, which isn't a big time window. But we've said time and time again on this show that the benefit of cloud gaming and click to play is that you aren't waiting for the download. And the reason I want to bring that up more specifically is, if you recall, a few weeks ago, PlayStation launched free trials, Richie, over on their platform.
Yeah.
To some, this would make it seem as though Stadia are actually behind. However, the free trial on PlayStation, as soon as you click to trial that game, the trial starts. So you get longer, you get up to 6 hours, I believe. But if it's a large game to download and your internet's shoddy, if it takes 4 hours for your game to download, the trial has already begun the second you click download. So if you want to play a game and you've got really bad internet, you're losing essentially a big chunk of your time to the download itself for the game. Stadia has no such problem. You just click to play Control, you click to play Hello Engineer, and boom. We know what it's like. You're in within seconds.
The 30-minute limiter is, I think, fine for a lot of games. Because it's meant to be, here's a taste, do you like the game? Yeah. Is this a game that you can see yourself playing? However, for some games you need way more than an hour to kind of really get the feel for it. Yeah,
Control would be one of those for me. I'd say at least an hour. Or if not, actually, Richie, you've tried Control several times. How long does it take you to get into it?
Oh, about a year or two. But for example, because I've been playing it recently, Persona 5, if I went to you, Chris, and went, here's Persona 5, you're only allowed to play half an hour, and then you have to decide whether to buy that game or not, you're not going to be able to make that an informed decision. You need way more than half an hour to get into that game. Yeah.
But this is a good starting point. And I think free trials,
it's good.
We said ever since we got the demo for Pac-Man, Immortals Phoenix Rising, and Humankind, it was terrific. Obviously, it was a different type of demo, but it did make us think, like, why can't every game just have free trials? And it looks like PlayStation are working on it, Stadia are working on it. But yeah, it just does alleviate it.
I'd like to see them up to an hour. For Hello Engineer, I think half an hour is fine. For Control, I think an hour is probably better. Definitely. Because the game has a lot of exposition early on.
Cutscenes. Yeah. I think one of the PlayStation ones, ironically enough, is Death Stranding. Now, imagine Death Stranding, 6-hour free trial, Richie. Takes your console or your shitty internet 4 hours to download. You jump into Death Stranding, and because it's Kojima, the opening hour is a cutscene. So you actually only get out of a 6-hour trial about 50 or so minutes of gameplay to really get your head around it.
To this day, I still don't know what Death Stranding's about or what that game is.
It's a delivery game. We don't know. We digress. And interesting though, again, trials like this, it's been picked up. So like this article I'm reading from now is from The Verge. I think this week's been really good for Stadia from a news cycle standpoint. It's been quite quiet on the other platforms fronts. And it's just been nice to see multiple articles from Eurogamer, from The Verge, from Kotaku, for better or for worse, GamesIndustry.biz, all highlighting it's a thing. And for every person out there that goes, what's a Stadia? Or I thought Stadia was dead. The more articles that are out there that are getting shared, it makes people rethink. And if it's free trials, free promotions, free premiere editions, new AAA titles like FIFA and Resident Evil running, it slowly can change the narrative. But it's almost too slow. But it's in the right direction, I think, from what we've seen this week.
Yeah. Well, and there's an interesting thing, which I haven't verified, but from 9 to 5 Google, their article on the topic is titled, Google Stadia's free trials don't require an account. That changes things quite a bit.
It does, especially
because if you don't need an account to try, then one of the potential barriers for people trying is being removed.
Yeah, then interestingly enough, the Verge's article says you do still have to sign in with a Google account.
I can see it being a situation where you can sign with an account, but you don't necessarily have to put credit card details down. Which is where I think the bigger barrier is, because who doesn't have a Google account?
My barrier might be the age rating. If you don't have an account to link it to, how do we verify that it's not a 5-year-old playing Control with guns and weapons and explosions and shit? That's where I think the account needs to exist to just verify. Well, I mean, they could put in put your age in, I guess.
There'd have to be an account of some description. I don't know.
Because like Doom Eternal, surely with all the violence, could not be just a click-to-play free trial with no information because, there's nothing to stop a 6-year-old clicking a link on a YouTube video and going, splatter, headshots, everything for half an hour free trial without any repercussions of, like, protecting children from that kind of violence and gruesomeness and nightmares, quite frankly. But maybe that's why it is, but they could just come out.
There's nothing in the 9 to 5 Google article as well about the account situation, despite it being the headline, so I'm not sure what that's about.
I think you still need to click a Gmail for that very reason, but...
I'd expect you to assume you need an account.
I'm sure even just from Google's back end, surely they need to be able to regulate who's using the platform.
But you know what? Even I say half an hour is not good enough to really decide whether you want to buy Control or not. But if you're completely new to the platform, half an hour is probably good enough to see whether the tech will work for you or not.
Yeah, certainly should do. That's it. That's all it needs to be. Half an hour to get in and test it out. Moving on. Speaking of testing things out, Outriders. Good news, Outriders fans, has finally been patched.
All two of you.
All two of you. There's even less Outriders fans than there are Stadia players, from what I'm hearing. Yeah. The days finally came, everyone. The patch will bring the Stadia version in line with other platforms. Of course, this comes after absolutely, quite frankly, far too long. It's been months. We know people can fly have had problems with being paid for their work on this game from Square Enix and a whole litany of things, but I think this game's...
Everything around this game is a mess.
Yeah, it's fell off. It was received well, loads of people were playing it, but I think it's safe to say it's fell off the radar, and I think for Stadia players, it's not only fell off the radar, but it's been set on fire and kicked to the curb at the same time. They still haven't got crossplay working properly.
But apparently it is coming in November.
Yeah, I'm so glad I skipped on this one.
Yeah.
But we won't give them any more time because Outriders, don't think it's in many people's Game of the Year conversation. But at least it's finally fixed, I guess, folks. I'm sure it runs great. And as with most of the Square Enix games on the platform, fantastic.
If you are playing it, let us know how it's performing for you with this most recent patch.
Indeed. Next story of the week, as we start to wind down the show, Richie, we'll only touch on it a little bit. Samsung has announced cloud gaming for their Tizen TVs. with no further details. So Samsung have announced that it's jumping into the cloud gaming arena with an offering for its smart TV platform. The news came at this week's Samsung Developer Conference keynote speech, and they did not provide any more details of what games would be available, what other platforms it would be available on, if any, or when it will launch, in fact. Cloud gaming, of course, as we know, is an arena that many big tech companies are getting into, but is it an area that Samsung can dabble in? They've been here before. They initially actually had a game streaming company. They work with them, Gaikai, if you remember Gaikai, Richie. Early cloud gaming on high-end TVs. It was essentially the same pitch as cloud gaming is today. Play games on TV, screens, controllers, without the need of a console. And then you'll also know that Gaikai decided to go in a different direction. Specifically, purchased by PlayStation, and they now power PlayStation Now. So it does exist, but then weirdly enough, Samsung getting back into the cloud market for gaming specifically, and quite frankly, not surprised.
No. Especially, I wouldn't be surprised if on the back end this is Stadia, especially we know if white label is a confirmed thing, absolutely confirmed thing. Where with the AT&T news, this could be the next one.
Yeah, white label. It's an easy turnaround to just let someone, and we know Samsung work well with Google and Stadia just purely from Samsung phones run on Android. So that relationship is there. If they can line each other's pockets with different platforms, and Samsung TVs for Stadia, vice versa.
As we've all said, the tech Stadia's got arguably the best streaming tech behind it. You could argue nowadays xCloud and GeForce Now have a bit more power behind their servers, but in terms of the tech, the whole package streaming, I think Stadia is still number one. And if they are white labeling it, a company like Samsung probably goes, that could be our solution. It's clearly something they're interested in. This is their second attempt after all.
And Samsung have notoriously always been open to playing with with others. They left their own system, as I said, moved to Android for mobile devices. In the past year or so, they've partnered with Microsoft for a Game Pass promotion here in the UK, where you bought a Samsung phone and you got 12 months worth of Game Pass and a Razer Kishi on some networks, which was a terrific promotion. And I just think, TVs are how most people play gaming on. So a good quality TV lined with gaming, it makes a great business partnership.
That Samsung promotion worked quite well for me because I got my Kishi almost half price because suddenly the eBay and auction sites such as that, were just flooded with them.
Yeah, I got mine for £45, I think it was.
I think mine was $39.99. I think for me, I had a cap at 40. I'm not willing to go above that. And
I would not be surprised if you saw more promotions going into Black Friday and Christmas this year as well. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But Samsung Cloud, it's going to get busy up here, Richie, in the skies.
Yeah, it's a shame. If this is running on Stadia, it's a shame that it's going to be a separate ecosystem though. But if they get crossplay in this sort of stuff, which I mean, if it is literally running on Stadia hardware, then whether you're booting up through a cloud TV or you're booting up through a Chromecast, what's the difference? If the game library is the same and they are talking to each other.
Yeah. Cloud Play. Coin that now, Cloud Play.
Give it a few weeks and we'll start hearing leaks like we did with the AT&T rumours that this is running on Stadia hardware.
Yeah, we shall see. But more the merrier, because it's going to push the industry forward, and if other competitors come out with it, it might mean Stadia gets pushed up the ladder, because everyone will be like, oh, the Samsung Cloud one's shit, the Panasonic Cloud one's shit. And then all of a sudden Stadia goes from
the JVC one that doesn't exist,
the Motorola one, all of those all these tech companies that try and get it, all of a sudden like Luna and Stadia are looking really damn fine at the top, with xCloud and PlayStation Now and stuff. Yeah. And right at the bottom,
although in 10 years' time Luna's still in beta and still not in the UK.
And right at the bottom is Nintendo Switch's online offering, but it doesn't matter because of nostalgia. Anyway,
the cloud offering from Switch don't seem bad. It seems an interesting solution that Nintendo have working to get like bigger AAA titles on their platform working.
Hey, they got Guardians of the Galaxy. They got from Final
What would you
Fantasy,
do if
so
Nintendo were using like white labels Stadia for their streaming tech?
They should. It's got to be better than what's currently running, but we digress. Final quick news stories for the week, ladies and gentlemen. Anyone out there with children will be happy to know that we've also got the announcement and the release of PJ Masks, Heroes of the Night. It's out now on Stadia. Who goes into the night to save the day? You do. Get on your PJs and become heroes Catboy, Owlet, and Gecko in the most exciting PJ Masks video game yet. Starting out at Mission Control HQ, you set off on a platforming adventure for little heroes. Use your superpowers to stop the most popular nighttime baddies. And explore 8 PJ Masks locations from the city roofs and the Mystery Mountains all the way to the moon. With the help of PJ Robot, you'll discover a world of friendship, teamwork, and amazing hidden collectibles. Be the heroes at bedtime and fight crime. Richie, I have no clue what the hell this game is. I know of Peppa Pig. I know of some of the other things we've discussed in the past. We don't have children. But I've never heard of PJ Masks before. I've not even seen
Me either.
this. I don't know.
This could be a completely new IP as far as I'm aware. I've never even heard of it.
It sounds like it's got its own TV show and everything. Either way.
I assume it's got a TV show because I think it's an Outright Games title. Most of them are based on existing like kids' cartoons and yeah.
Fill your boots, parents. Go save the night with your kids in the PJs. And you know what? I know these games out for us. I know it. Outright, stellar work still supporting the platform and getting these games out. And in a weird way, I think back to when I was a kid and what games I was playing. I was like, this is probably just akin to when I played like Bugs Bunny Lost in Time. And it's like, oh, it's a stupid Looney Tunes.
Cool Spot.
Yes, stupid
Cool
Looney...
Spot is a bloody... It's just a marketing exercise.
7-Up game. It's the red stop from the 7-Up logo. But yeah, like Bugs Bunny and all the stupid stuff we used to play as kids. Like it was probably daft to adults back then who were playing Metal Gear Solid and like all these... more age specific games, and this will be in 20 years time when someone goes back and they're like, I love that game, and they're playing it on Stadia 20.0 on their phone, and it's just like ray tracing, ultra realistic graphics, remaster, PJ Masks remaster.
I mean, I part of me kind of doesn't think. I don't think it's going to be as memorable as something like Aladdin on the Genesis or Sonic or Mario, but
you never know.
But it could be. There's always the possibility.
So we shouldn't cast them aside just yet. But yeah, parents, kids, Outright Games are on your side. And final update for the week, we reported on it months ago. It's not been officially recognised by Stadia yet, but Fast and the Furious, Spy Racers, Rise of Shifter. I'm saying it off the top of my head. I think I got that right. Has been
It's SH1FTE3R.
Yeah, it's based on a TV show, actually.
Because
it's not based on the movies.
They're totally back in the early 2000s.
Yeah, of course, Shifter. However, this, again, another Outright Games title, has just been announced that it will be coming to current gen, but the next gen versions, PS5, Series XS, and Stadia, will be delayed, unfortunately, for the coming months. We'll confirm, they sit on the website, a proper date for it soon enough. But they need some more time to work on the next gen ones. They have said as well, crossplay against those across PS4 is not a feature, but they plan to include it as part of the game. So interestingly, they're working on a few things, but the website's nice and transparent with the news of what's coming up and how you'll be able to port different versions across. But essentially, Stadia is bracketed in with next gen. I don't know what difference that makes from a cartoon-inspired Fast and Furious game. However, it's nice to see Outright being clear and concise with their website details. So if you're looking for some racing action out there in the Fast and the Furious universe, might have to wait a little bit longer to play on Stadia. But again, not officially announced yet. So this is just us, Richie, gathering the news as we said we do, even when it's not in the blog post. And that brings us...
even when it's what looks like a terrible Fast and Furious game.
I mean, some would argue the movies have been deteriorating for a long, long time anyway, but...
The movie's been deteriorating since the first movie.
And yet they make more money.
They're terrible.
Either way, folks, that has been your weekly roundup for Stadia and gaming news, with or without a blog post. We'll do our absolute best to bring you all of it, the juicy stories of the week, for your listening or viewing pleasure. Don't forget, if you haven't done so already, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click that bell so you're kept in the loop with all of things we do here at Hades Cloud Games. And do share it. Do leave your comments below. We'd love to hear what you think. And if you are interested in talking a little bit more with some like-minded people, we do have our Discord channel up there as well. All day, every day, conversation ticking over there. And the more the merrier. So you're all welcome, whether you're a big fan of Stadia, you play it every now and again, or you're just into gaming and you just like talking about gaming. Do hit us up. The link is in the description below. Find me on Twitter at CyberChris2077. Find Richie at
RichieZ89.
Find Tom at AdaxisLP. And you'll see us this Thursday, 8 p.m. Not British summertime anymore, Richie, because we get an extra hour in bed tomorrow.
Well, yeah, we do.
Rewind.
We're back to GMT.
Back to GMT. So 8 p.m.
You know what,
GMT.
Chris? We don't get an extra hour in bed. We get an extra hour of gaming.
That is true. It gets to 2 o'clock and it goes back to 1 o'clock tonight. I'm going to try and chip away at Far Cry so I can start Guardians of the Galaxy when I'm back at work next week. But thank you, everybody, for joining us for Hades Cloud Games, episode 110 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. We'll be back same time next week. Thank you very much for listening. My name's been Chris.
And I've been Richie.
Don't forget to play wherever makes you the happiest. Have a great week, folks. Hope you had a good Halloween, and we'll see you soon. Goodbye.
Bye.